Okay, so to make the puppy, we're going to split the paste into 3 pieces. One's going to be for the body, one for the legs and arms, and the other one will be for the head and other features. So just 2 of those need to go into a bag, and then we're left with our 1 piece. So warming up the paste, give it a good old twist, squidge, and roll it tightly between your palms. Now, if you find that your paste is sticking to your hand, then just put a bit of corn flour on, okay? And if you find you've got lots of bits of the paste stuck on your hand, then use a damp cloth to clean your hands off. Dry it thoroughly, and then just dust your hands with corn flour, and that should help. If you've got hot hands especially, or if it's a hot day, then it can be very super sticky. So the important thing here is that we need to get this nice and smooth and crack free. So if you do find after you've twisted and squeezed and rolled tightly between your palms that you've still got little cracks in there, then you can use your thumb to rub those cracks out and then go back to the rolling. If you're not getting rid of the cracks that way, then you will possibly need to re-warm the paste up. Okay, now what we want to do is create a cone shape. So I'm just going to put the angle of my hand. So I'm left-handed. So if you're right-handed, you'll be holding the paste in your left hand, okay? So my hand, if I hold it straight like that, I'm going to make a sausage. If I hold it like this, I'm going to make a cone shape. Okay, so I've got it, my wrist is going to be just held at an angle to create a cone. Now, when I've made that cone, it's going to be about, let's just change the camera angle so you can see. It's going to be about 7 centimeters long and fairly narrow on one side and roughly about 3.5 centimeters fat on the bottom side. And that's just going to sit on my board in a second. So if you want to do that first for me, once you've made your body, you can turn it up right onto your plaque, and I would probably set him back a little bit so you've got room for his legs. Take the next ball of paste for the legs and arms, front legs, back legs. We want to divide this into reasonable sized chunks. Now, when I'm modeling something like this, if you haven't done it before, if you haven't done it in a while, then really what you need to do is pick out a blob of paste and kind of roughly roll it into the shape that you're wanting to create. And then that way you can check that you've actually got something that will fit. If I hold that up against, I'm feeling like maybe it's just a fraction large, you can pull it off and then you can match your sizes. Okay, so this one here, we are going to create a ball that fits within the 2.5 centimeter for the diameter. Okay, so 2.5 centimeters. If you're working in inches, it's an inch diameter. And then roll a second ball that matches and try and do that matching part manually. You could weigh them if you wanted to. It just starts to get you a little bit restricted when you're weighing everything. It's nice to feel a bit free. So 2.5 centimeter balls will do the back legs. So we're just going to roll. I should go back to the warming up just to remind you. So twist, squeeze like a stress ball, and then roll tightly between your palms. Okay, now this one's a little bit strange because we're going to create like a peanut shape. So I'm just going to take my finger. I'm just going to record this. So we've got the same, I'll just show you the second one. Ball. Use your finger. So find the middle and then just come slightly to one side. Roll. turn it on its side, tap to flatten, and then pinch out the paw. Now on these paws, you can use a cocktail stick to create little toes. We're just going to press in. So I've just got my cocktail stick onto the top here and just press in and kind of rock round a little bit. If you pinch the claws, they'll open out as well. Okay, so now you've got a paw in there as well. So I'll just do this other one here. You might find it easier to come in from the bottom. So just try and rock the cocktail stick as you do. I feel like I want that to be a little bit deeper. Okay, so you've got 2 paws. To attach them, I'll just show you that briefly. It helps to have a bit of an indentation pressed into the body first. So if we're going to do that, this is the front. I can identify it as the front by if I press in a little belly button. Okay, so it's got like a, just use the end of your spaghetti stick or your cocktail stick just to get yourself a belly button. And then you're going to press in either side with your pointing fingers. So I bring my 2 fingers on the surface to the either side and just press in a little bit of an indentation. Okay, and that will need some glue. Now normally I would indent and glue first. I just simply didn't do that. So the reason for it is to help the moisture soak into the paste a little bit, which just makes it a little less slippery. So now we can pop in our little puppy legs. Look like dog bones, don't they? Just give them a little press so they're on. Make sure your body's nice and upright as well. And when you're ready, I'm not going to show you anything else other than popping some glue either side of the belly button. So the belly button's going to disappear underneath the dog front legs. And I'll just give you a little share of the picture just so you've reminded of what you're making. So we've done the back legs as well as the body. We're now in a minute going to be working on these front legs. And we need the glue for that. So for the front legs, I would say we were working with about 2.5 centimetre ball before. So I would, again, like I suggest, we just don't even bother warming it up. We just roughly shape what we're trying to achieve. And then we've got an idea whether it's going to fit in. Okay, now I think that's probably going to be about right. So having tested that, I can check what size ball I need. So again, it's about the same as the back legs, 2.5 centimetres or 1 inch, and match the second ball so that you're not going to have a limping dog. And remember, if you haven't already, we need some glue in that area because these pieces are upright. It's more likely to slide. Okay, so when I'm working with small pieces, I find it easier to kind of squidge it like this rather than physically twist. Okay, and then squeeze it to get the air out. Also warms it up. You've got fat in the paste, so the warmth of your hands is helping that to melt a little bit. So into a ball, and then this time we're going to use the heel of my hand again to create a cone shape. Okay, so this is just kind of like an arm on a teddy bear. And we can just kind of hold that up, check to see if it's the right length for the body. And to mark, I'll give you a size on that in a moment, to mark, I'm just going to take the cocktail stick and I've just pressed down on it to try and create like a bit of a curve. And then I can just tip the bit I've curved up. So in effect, that indent is giving you the opportunity to bend the foot. So you've got something that looks like that from the side. Okay, and we'll just put that on there. So once I've bent the foot, it's about 5.5 centimeters. It's probably nearer 6 without the foot bent up, just over 2 inches. Okay, so I'll do another one just to revise, but if you're happy, feel free to have a go. So ball into elongated cone. So just showing you the position of my hands from a different angle, like this. This part here down the length. It's really strange. You kind of sit it like that, and then you're rolling from side to side rather than with your fingers. Okay, so it's straight edge of your thumb. I call this a chicken drumstick. And then roll until that's roughly the length that you want it to be. And then you can mark in the indent, which helps you turn the foot up. So we're just going to put that in at the bottom here. So start off at a bit of an angle, and then I try and create a curve. And that is just then eased up a little bit. Okay, you can flatten the bottom as well. Now, if you want to, I haven't done it in the picture. I'm not sure how this is going to look, so we'll just give it a go. But if you want to, you can actually mark in paws. They don't look too bad. Okay, so if that's something you want to do, you can. You don't want to leave it too long before you put those in because the paste will dry. So start at the bottom end and simply press and curve over. Give them a bit of a press, and that will just open it up a little bit. So when you're ready, you can actually attach these to the body. So we've already put the glue on there, and it's actually easier to put them side by side to do this. So just line them up so they're together, and then you can drop them in. If you find that your back legs are in the way, you might need to move them. It's very much like the elephant, this one. So if you've got fingerprints where you've lifted them up, then you can use just smooth with your finger. Okay, so now we've got the legs in place. You can make not so big, but you can make giraffe like this as well. So to support the head, we're going to put the spaghetti stick in nice and straight. So just check it from all angles. Just turn round to see. Now you can probably tell on the screen that that is crooked. It's leaning this way. So what I need to do is pull it out completely, adjust and reposition, because what it will do is go into a clean, unbroken piece of paste rather than just kind of pulling it into position, which will open up a hole. And then double check all the way around to make sure that it is in fact upright. With modelling, it's really important that you have a centre of balance. Otherwise, everything will lean that way, especially once the head's on. So the quantity of, it's leaning forward now, isn't it? The quantity of the length of spaghetti is worked out once this hits the surface. So it's touching the bottom, it's got to go all the way through. And then between my finger and thumb, I'm just putting my finger and thumb onto the spaghetti and then break off, because we actually probably only need about 1 centimetre to hold it. Okay, if this is too long and the head is, you know, it's coming out, almost coming out to the top of the head, as he dries, he's going to shrink a little bit. His head's going to kind of sink down a little bit, and you'll find that the spaghetti might stick out the top of his head, which is not ideal. And then we're going to put a little bit of glue around the head. Now, this is where it changes, because we're going to make a collar for him. So you need a little bit of the brown that you've made for his patches and his ears. Probably only about, let's just work this out, about 1 centimetre ball. I'll show you it first, and then I may decide on making a slightly smaller ball. Now, you'd think his collar would go on afterwards, but it doesn't. It goes on before. So if you're making any kind of collar, a scarf for someone, the bit that's around the neck goes on before you create the head. And I'm just going to put a little bit of corn flour on there because this is quite soft. It hasn't got any CMC, but if you have got some in it, it's probably going to make it easier to handle. So a 1 centimetre ball of paste, which we then press into a slightly flattened ball. Okay, so it's not quite a thin disc at this point. Might just press it down just a fraction more. Okay, so once it's pressed down, it's about 1.5 centimetre diameter. And this then goes onto the spaghetti stick and you press it on. Okay, try and keep it in a disc shape. I'll just change the camera angle so that you can see this from the side as well. Okay, so you can see he's got a disc on there, which is going to be basically the collar. And we're going to put a little medallion on there as well. The medallion can go on later, but this bit needs to go on now. If you were making a scarf, obviously not for the dog, just showing you that as well because it's interesting to know. What you would do is roll your piece of paste for the scarf into a fat disc. It would be a bigger quantity, and then you would run your stick through maybe a couple of times so that you've got the creases that you would get in a scarf that's been wrapped around your neck. Yeah, you do the same on the back, and then that piece would be pushed on to the top of the body before you put the head on. And then when you're ready, you could also make the tassels, which are kind of flattened cones, flattened elongated cones. So that's how you'd make a scarf. Just trying to think what else would be round your neck. Bow tie. So again, a belt. It's easier if you create a patch for the belt, if you can, if the body is, the lower body, the abdomen is separated from the top. For example, a lady's waistband, something like that would be better as a flattened disc. Go. Okay, so just a little bit of glue ready to attach the head. And the head, we've got to take our last bit of paste here to work on his head. And we're going to pull off. We've got ears to go on, but they're fairly flat, and the muzzle will make the head look larger. So we don't want this to be oversized. So like we did for the legs and the arms, before you start to form the proper shape for the head, you need to have a look to see if it's going to work. Well, I'm looking at that thinking that's a little bit on the small side, so I'm going to go a bit larger. But I don't want to go too big because I know that he's got the muzzle to go on. That's quite large. Let me have a look. I'm thinking the bigger the head, the more puppy dog he looks. So I'm going with this. We're just going to see what it looks like. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as the one in the picture. So you can make it smaller if you want. So if we're going to go for size, guys, you are looking at a 3.5 centimetre ball of paste. Okay, so you go smaller if you would like. 3.5 centimetre. Okay, now this is pretty much a ball, but I want to make it slightly egg-shaped with the pointed end down as his chin. Okay, so when I warm this up, so twisting, squeezing, rolling tight between your palms, release the pressure between your palms to reveal the crack-free ball. And then just with the heel of my hand again, I'm just going to roll once, twice, probably 3 times, just to get myself like an egg shape. Okay, I feel he's a bit lumpy bumpy, so I'm going to go back to a circle, go back to a ball, and then just roll again. So a couple, so almost like the start of his body, egg shaped. So that's 3.5 centimetre diameter. Whew. And that is then going to go pointy end on. I think it's going to look huge. I'm just going to show you from the side. Okay, so the pointy end goes down. It's not very pointed. So we've painted a nice bit of glue along here ready for the muzzle, and then marked in 2 little holes for the ears, which are going to be one slightly more up than the other ear here. And those holes, and just maybe 1 centimetre down from them, we need some glue. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make the muzzle now. Now I've actually changed the colour of his muzzle. I've made it slightly paler, but I realise on the list that I haven't actually suggested that you keep some white. So you don't have to, you can keep your muzzle the same colour. If you have got a spare bit of white, then if you can break into that, and I would say probably if you put a centimetre ball of white with 2 centimetres of the brown. If not, keep it all the same colour. I suppose you could make it darker as well if you wanted to, because you have got enough brown. You've got enough dark brown to do it. So just mix that in with your white. If you find as well that things are really super soft, so I find this is not overly easy to work with, so I can actually simply dunk it in my CMC. You've got to be careful that you don't drop any crumbs in your CMC, because of course that will affect any other paste that you try and add the powder to. But you know, if it's not playing ball, if it's super hot and it's really soft on you, then you need to add a bit more CMC. So my muzzle here is quite big. It's coming out at about 2.5 centimetre diameter. Let's change my camera angle. Yeah, about 2.5 centimetres. It does look right. I feel like I want that size for my puppy, but I could be wrong. So we'll just check it. If it's wrong, all we have to do is take it off. So this ball is going to go into a bit of a cone shape, and the cone is going to be his chin. So using this part of my hand again, I'm just going to roll it into a teardrop shape. Okay. And when I hold that, I've got to be careful because I don't want this too pointed. But when I hold that up against the face, just get it positioned where you want it, and then you need to press. I'm just holding his nose in position because my hand is a little bit on the sticky side. So I'm just going to press, and this is so it's pointed side down, and then work your finger around. We're not trying to flatten it. I have to support the back of his head while I do this as well. I just want to attach it round the edge a little bit. And if you just use the pad on your thumb, it should be fine. Okay. Now I'm going to have a look at this from my angle. Remember as well that we've got his head tilted. If I hold that up, you can see that's on there. Okay. But it's tilted this way a little bit because his ears are going, his head in theory is tilted. The worst thing you can do is actually tilt the head. You need to change the features rather than the head, because that has to have that center of balance. And because that piece is quite large, it might move, so just keep an eye on it. You can always adjust it. So we're going to mark in this area here as well. Okay, the nose will go on later. So the way we do that, I'm going to start off with the nose hole. So the nose is going to go roughly here. Pushing the cocktail stick, open up by just turning that stick around. And then either use a knife, or if you've got a cutting wheel, you can draw a line from here down to where the mouth opening is going to go. Now, I'll let you do that, and then I'll show you how to get the smile in. Okay, and the first thing we want to do before we open up the mouth is actually put the smile in. So if you've got a straw and not one of these tools that's got this funny little kind of bit here, kind of half semicircle, take the straw and use a pair of scissors and cut half and then snip down. You'll get the same thing. The best ones are the Costa coffee straws. If they still do them, I don't know. But I mean, straws are quite difficult to get hold of now, aren't they? You've got a metal straw, something like that. And then we're going to push in at the base of his line that we've put in. I've held this up so you can see it, but it makes it difficult because I've got to support the back of the head as well. So we push in and come out cleanly. So push in and come out cleanly. Okay, so you could stop there if you want to. Or if you'd like, put a bit of corn flour onto the back of a paintbrush and come into the center here of where you've smiled. Support the bottom of his chin. Make him eat the back of the paintbrush. Support the chin as you pull down. And as you pull down, you're going to pinch the bottom just a little bit so it kind of closes up. And he gets like a little joyous yay in there. Yeah, so I've just pinched it with my finger and thumb as the stick comes out. So whilst he looks simple, he's got some little changes, little new bits that perhaps you haven't learned before. I'll just hold that up again for you. Just have to secure his head.
Sorry.
If you've got a finer tool, so a smaller brush, then you can actually give him dimples as well. So you could push in, you need to support his head while you do this. You can push in dimples just either side. It's very difficult holding this up and showing you and making sure his head doesn't come off at the same time. Can you see? So you can put a lot of detail or not, depending on what you'd like to do. So we're just going to put a little bit of glue into his nose hole. Check his muzzle isn't moving. My one feels like it's moving down, so I'm just lifting it up a little bit. And once you've got the muzzle in the right place, you can then put his eye holes just as a marker, as a little guide. And those can be glued as well, but put only a small amount of glue on those. Now with this character here, I can see that weight is causing him a problem because he's got a heavy head. So later on, once I've made him, if you take yourself a cup, something that tapers outward at the top, and you can position it so that his head rests against it, holding it upright while he sets overnight. He will never dry fully. It's still, because you've got the glycerin and the fat in the paste, he won't ever dry fully. But this way, at least you've got some chance of it not falling off and just holding its shape overnight. Okay, so when you've done your features, just give me a bit of a thumbs up. Thank you. Where's Emma's thumbs up? I get no thumbs up. Yeah, is it? Oh, that's what it's like, is it? So lovely. Yeah. Okay. Oh. So we're going to do his ears next. Oh, we should do a patch on his head. I've got to do the patch afterwards. Okay. So his ears. Take yourself a ball of paste about just under 1.5 centimeters. Match that ball size. Now, I think what I'll do is just check that we've got enough here. So into a ball, into a cone, tap it to flatten, and then we'll have a look to see what that looks like on the model. Okay, a little bit blurred. So I'm just going to hold that up against his head. Just change the angle so you can see what I'm talking about. I think that looks quite cute. You might decide he wants bigger ears. I'm going to probably make him a definite 1.5 centimeters, looking at that. Give him some decent ears. Puppies have big ears, don't they? They're cute. And then just match your ball sizes. Okay, so 1.5 centimeter each matched. And then to shape them, you're going to roll nice and crack free. Use the heel of your hand again, roll into a cone. As a cone, it's going to be, let's put this down actually, 3 centimeters. Match the other ear. I'm looking at that thinking I need a little bit more paste on this one. So into a ball, into a cone, roughly 3 centimeters in length. If your hands are feeling sticky, put some corn flour on your palm and press again corn flour on the heel of your hand if you're not sure. And you're just pressing it into a flattened teardrop shape. And we're going to curve it into just a loose S shape. And that can sit onto the character. So I'll just turn the camera angle again. So we start you're going to place it directly onto the hole that you've used as a marker and then turn up the end. Remember, one's higher than the other to make his head look angled, tilted. And the same with this one, bit of corn flour on the palm if you feel like it's going to stick. They're not really thin, they're still quite thick. And then you're just going to curve over your thumb and out at the bottom. And that can be attached on the other side. And if you remember, we actually put the hole in the glue lower down. So it follows the contour of his head. It only really opens up at the bottom. We're going to work on the patch over his eye next. So we're going to do the patch over one eye. Now I know I made you put glue on the eye, but I'd forgotten about the patch. So we need to paint a little bit more glue for the patch. And the patch is a little bit like a lightning strike. If I show you again on the actual model here, yeah. And it goes on before the eye. But be careful because the dark brown will bleed a bit like black. So just paint yourself maybe a zigzag. Think thin, very light amount of glue. It just got to be enough to hold the patch on. It doesn't have to glue the entire area of the patch. And then we're going to roll about 1 centimetre ball of the paste. And this is not going to, it's going to be thinner than everything else. I'm just moving my mess out of the way. I apologise for the mess on the desk. Also, when you've got paste left over, cover it up. Don't do what I'm doing, leaving it on the side because it will dry out. Okay, so a little bit of rolling, just warm it up into a cone, so like the ear. And then start to flatten it out. A little bit of corn flour if you think it's going to stick to you. And we need to flatten that a little bit more. I don't want it silly thin, and it doesn't have to be a perfect shape. It can be more of a splat, if you like. Look, something like this. I can use my finger to smooth that. And I've only put a little line of glue onto the paste, but it's enough to hold it. So we'll just bring this in. If I put this splodge, I can go in like this. Makes him look like he's got one of those eye patches on. Just give it a little tap and smooth down. I might just use my sharp knife just to very gently tuck that bit under. So what I'm doing is holding my knife at a bit of an angle and just coming in, very careful not to touch the muzzle, just to press that on, make it look a bit more even. And then you can reposition or repress in the eye. So using the same technique wherever you want a patch, just pre-glue, but just a little bit of glue, not so it's going to cover the whole area that you're going to stick some brown on. It's just enough to hold the center of the shape. And if you work with no more than 1 centimetre ball for his back and maybe a little bit smaller for his leg. Okay, so start off by rolling a cone shape maybe, and then you can use your finger and thumb just to flatten that out. Give yourself a splat shape, and that can go onto his back. Just press it on, and then if you kind of stroke it with your finger, it will smooth out. Just take care not to stretch it too much because you don't want to tear and reveal the colour underneath. And then I'm going to do one on his leg. I think sometimes you can overdo it, so just be a little bit careful. If you wanted to, you could do a larger splat and 2 tiny ones, but just be careful not to overdo it because it can look a bit strange. So this is slightly smaller than a centimetre ball of paste into a patch, and that can go on his leg. Same, just give it a press onto the glue and then just stroke it gently. Try not to get your nails in anywhere. Okay, so the last thing before we put the black features on the nose and the eyes is the tail. Now, ideally, you do this while it's still a little bit wet. So I'm actually going to use the paintbrush to mark in. So rather than just push in an indent, I'm going to mark in an indent, like a crease in his bottom. Okay, and we can paint some glue in there ready. I'm going to come up a little way over his back, probably to about halfway, because when I do his tail, I want to have it moving a little bit up, so stick up and then curling over. Just watch out with this, because when you make things that aren't going to be stuck down completely, they can be a little bit fragile. So there's nothing worse than making the towel and then finding that it's broken once you just before you give it to someone. I'm putting a little bit extra CMC in there, so that will help firm it up. And the ball quantity for this, I think I've got too much here, but I'll go with it, and then I can always shorten his tail. So it's about 2 centimeters, and we're just going to roll it into a sausage. Okay, so just under 2 centimeters. So into a ball. And then again, this part of your hand, I'm just going to roll across it. And you're keeping a flat hand and you're rolling this way and then this way. You almost roll up the thumb. Well, not quite, it's more kind of down there. So just keep working the sausage. And move the towel in your palm as well, just so that you are giving an equal amount of pressure all the way along. We want to keep it nice and rounded at the end, and it also needs to be in proportion to the character as well. So I think that's about right. You can actually roll on the surface as well. I find that really hard to do though. I don't know why. And I think for safety's sake, I'm probably only going to have about 7 centimeters of tail. So where I know that I'm going to finish, I'm going to just pinch that between my finger and thumb until it comes off, and then neaten that back using my finger. And that's going to be the bit that's stuck onto his bottom. Just turn the camera angle as well. And so the cut off end that I've neatened with my finger is this end, and that is going to sit at the base there, and then working gently, pressing. I actually I reckon I can stick that onto his head as well. Often you will find that there's areas that can hold things that you're making. Yeah, just to support it. So if you find that it rests on his arm or his leg, or in this instance, the back of his head, then very gently press it on with a bit of glue. Okay. So he's sitting down, but he's waggling his tail. I'm not sure if that's actually possible, but my character's doing that. Because he's happy. So this piping tip would make a nice little medallion, wouldn't it? It's quite a nice size. And you could roll this piece and then cut and just rub it. You should find that that'll come out. So that would give you a perfect little circular disc. These are very useful. In fact, if you roll your paste out thin, use maybe a number 3, you can actually roll the paste out. I might just show you that actually, because it makes really good eyes. I'll just show you that quickly. So imagine this is black. You would roll your paste out quite thin and then put corn flour on there. I'm just going to grab the piping tip I want, which is a number 3. This is only if you've got it, but I mean, and it's not for tonight. It's just so there's a number 3 piping tip here, and because I've got the corn flour on there, I can just stab, and they all disappear into the tip. Okay, now watch this magic. Oh, all these little eyes. Yeah. So you've got little eyes. So that's something that if you're having real trouble making small eyes, that you can use. It's quite useful. Other circle cutters, I don't know if you know what an olive is. I don't mean like the edible olive, I mean the olives that the plumbers use. You can buy them from an ironmonger's. They often have them behind the counter, and if you ask for different size olives, probably from ½ centimetre up, you get a selection of them, and then you've got a whole range of circle cutters that you can use for eyes and goodness knows what else. But failing that, ½ centimetre ball of paste today into a ball, and then make sure it's warmed up, because when you press it, it's likely to crack. Okay, so nice and warmed up, press it just a little bit. Oh, and then just between your finger and thumb, hold it as you press sideways. And what it will do is flatten it. You can also do that on the surface, but this is quite small. So I'm just pinching and then flattening the side. And that gives me a nice little medallion. And I'm going to attach that where I can see a bit of collar. So I'm going to put it here. I've actually got a crack on my collar as well, so that's going to hide it. So a little bit of glue. Carefully pick up the disc. It's very difficult. And drop that on. Now he's got a little tag. I'll get you to do that, and then I'll show you the last bit. So I'm going to show you the nose now. I'm just going to use, again, maybe ½ centimetre ball of paste, nothing too big. Or you can make like you can have whatever size nose you like, but so this is ½ centimetre into a ball. Roll with your finger on one side to create the cone shape, and then that can be popped. Let's just change the view again into his, so it's the pointy end that goes into the hole. Okay, so now he's got a little nose. So the pointy end, once he's in, if you just press it this way so it flattens slightly, it kind of widens it sideways. And then finally, I have to clean off my hands a little bit because they're slightly sticky because of the black on the black paste has got a lot of pigment in it. So what I'm going to do to get the eyes, I'm going to take my paste to a point and then pick off the small amount of paste onto my finger, and between my finger and thumb just drop that down. I'm going to do the same again because I need to match the balls. 2 eyes is what we're making here. If you find it difficult to roll the ball between your fingers, drop it onto your palm and roll it just with one, and then just check they match before you stick them on. Now, these should stick to your finger because you've got a little bit of fat from the paste, so they should stick for a little while. Just bring those. We've already glued that eye hole, haven't we? We haven't glued the other one, so we need to just put a little bit of glue on. Just a tiny amount because you're going onto it straight away. Touch the black, it shouldn't flatten, and because you've got a wetter surface, it will come off onto your character. And there you have your little puppy dog.
They get very
so you keep going. Okay, I've got everybody's on record, so these are just brilliant. They are absolutely lovely. Look, Kathy, you've got whiskers. Did you use a cocktail stick for that? It's so clever. Sarah, let me put mine in as well. The pressure's on, Sarah.
Yeah, and it's not helping.
I'm
I'm just trying to use.
You don't have to.
No, just go.
You're fine. Don't ruin him. Absolutely brilliant, guys. So
Where's the other eye?
Emma, so how close is your dog to your dog? Is he like your dog?
Oh, I know.
He is. Lovely. Okay, so here he is, the cute little puppy dog. And if you've got any questions, please do get in touch by email on hannah@inspiredcreations.uk.com. You can find the contact details as well through the website Inspired Creations, Surrey School of Sugarcraft. I'll just share with you, as I didn't at the beginning, the kit list. So if you want to create this project yourself in your own time, then this is what you will need. Okay, so I look forward to seeing you again soon, and enjoy making your little puppy. Say goodbye for now. Bye-bye.